The controversy surrounding the proposed March 26 National Convention of the All Progressives Congress seems to be unending as Southeast leaders are kicking against some positions given to them. They also said the position of Deputy National Chairman zoned to the region is inadequate. The stakeholders voiced support for the position of National Secretary and vehemently rejected the position of Deputy National Chairman, but that has been unsuccessful. They've been cautioning the leaders of the APC about taking away that slot from them. And then the Southeast seems to be positioning itself to also welcome the APC, but they said that the APC doesn't seem to be embracing it. Now, the leadership further described as injustice the move to zone the office of the Deputy National Chairman to the region based on individual interests against the entire region. We've been having all of this coming up, and then at the moment we've also been told that President Muhammadu Buhari is meeting with the leaders of the National Assembly, the APC National Assembly caucus, as part of the meetings that are meant to assuage the feelings of party members ahead of Saturday. I mean, the idea is that the president will help to calm the storm and there wouldn't be any divisions when they go out for the elective convention. Well, I'm glad to have joining me at the moment Dr. Mefor, who is a fellow of the Abuja School of Politics, Social and Political Thought, and Dr. Amadi, who is an ARISE News analyst and also an associate professor of law, and they will be taking a critical look at some of these things happening in the major opposition party. Let's start with you, Dr. Mefor. The APC seems to have zoned certain positions to this Southeast caucus of the party, if I may put it that way. But unfortunately, it looks like the attempt by the Southeast members to get the position of National Secretary zoned to them hasn't worked out, despite all the pressures. You could see Governor David Umahi leading the charge, but that didn't happen. And we've had the Deputy National Chairman South being allocated to the Southeast. But there seems to be rancor, and some people are kicking against Senator Ken Amadi, former president of the Senate, who seems to be the preferred consensus candidate by some party leaders. What do you make of all of these agitations?
Well, I think when we say the zone, the Southeast zone, rejected, you know, I don't think that that position is quite in order. If a clique is saying they prefer the position of National Secretary, that's a clique and not the zone. Yeah, because you cannot wish away the position of Senator Ken Amadi in the People's Democratic, All Progressives Congress. And of course, having risen to the height of politics in Nigeria, number 3 man as Senate President, and coming from that zone, and moving from PDP to the APC. When he moved, it was a big move. And he moved when the Southeast had no foothold in APC. So, if men later day saints like Dave Umahi would now come to dictate the tone, you know, of what would happen, you know, as regards the interest of the Southeast in the APC, you ask yourself, when did Governor Dave Umahi join the APC?
Well, he's not the only one. I mean, we also have Governor Hope Uzodinma too.
Wait a minute. You said he is leading the charge, and that is why I am calling him out. And again, Hope Uzodinma also has never represented the interest of the Southeast or the Igbos, and he knows it. That's a fact. So, such posturing, such grandstanding is essentially for their own, you know, cliques' interest. And let me put this in perspective. The office of the Deputy National Chairman and that of National Secretary, put side by side. The office of Deputy National Chairman is not a light office, and it's for the entire South. It's not just to represent the Southeast. It has to represent the interest of South, South, Southwest, and the Southeast. It means that whoever goes in there to represent will be represented the interest of half of the country. If you put that side by side the traditional role of the office of the secretary. The secretary, yes, I agree, it's a very important pivotal office in any organization, not just in a political party. But I do believe that next to the national chairman should be the deputy national chairman, not the secretary.
Okay.
And you see, let me drop this. It's very important that is factored in trying to build a holistic picture of why I believe that the office of the deputy national chairman should be preferred by the Southeast. The simple reason is this: the negotiation table, eyeball to eyeball. Who would be able to stand with the president, with the national chairman, and insist on what should come to the Southeast? Who can do that better? The national secretary or the deputy national chairman?
Okay, very interesting indeed. You've laid down some very good background. Let's come to you, Dr. Sam Amadi. Why do you think it's difficult for these southern governors, southeast governors, so to say, to actually want to support Ekeni Nnamani? Why is the southeast always fighting among itself when it comes to positions? I mean, if President Buhari has been canvassing for Ekeni Nnamani because he feels, as former deputy president, as former Senate president, he has some weight that he can help to push around. Shouldn't he, I mean, can Nnamani be getting huge support from these governors?
That's a good point to make. And I think he is getting huge support from members. You see, just like in the Southwest, we hear about conflict around Omishore secretary, some people prefer Oyedele, and so on and so forth. So you would expect that there will be those voices, powerful but a minority, of governors who probably have strategic interests themselves to get and who prefer some outcome. But like you said, if the president, right now, APC is going with the president. So the president is holding meetings, the consensus.
Yeah, I mean, the governor said that yesterday. Absolutely. Said that whatever so the president
is what happens. So it's an advantage the president has respect for a particular person from the Southeast. A person who has been in this aspiring interim committee, who is the deputy chair for the South, okay, in that committee. A person who during the campaign was a secretary, was a chairman of the Southern, was in charge, head of the whole South for the campaign. Somebody who has worked with the president. So I think actually it's self-serving for South to say, we've got this person and the president prefers him to be in charge of the whole South. So we put him in. Again, back to the issue of secretary versus national. The secretary is the backstopping of the secretariat. Critical, but the idea of a deputy chairman is that he could kick in when the chairman is not there. And if you look at the profile of the men who are going to run this party, whether it's Adamu or either of those, apart from Sani, Mustafa and the younger person, these are persons who will take a lot of sabbatical, medical sabbatical, okay? So you have a chance that the deputy national chairman could play key roles. Again, from experience, if you look at that office, it houses policy. You see, oftentimes the structure, the chairman will hive out policy and strategic deputizing for the national deputy. Especially when it's a deputy national chairman who has capacity, experience. The people who do secretarial work are usually more middle-level persons, or more professional. So their job is to backstop. So they won't be be trusted with strategic and policy issues. Yeah. So that position is actually very critical, because what we're going to see in the next 2 weeks is heavy, high-level negotiation over these tickets. And so it won't be a case of secretarial work. It's a case of who has the presence, who has the reputation. And so I think Ken Nnamani fits that role very well. And it's a good thing that he's not contending with the governors for governorship. People like
but there are also those fears. There are some people who are criticizing Ken Nnamani now because they feel that once he gets the deputy national chairman South, he will use that influence in the new National Working Committee to get himself a governorship ticket and run.
No, I don't think, I think at his level.
And then someone else would have to fill up that position.
In fact, actually, if I were the governors, I would prefer Ken Nnamani, who is on the other side in terms of age, okay? Secondly, Ken Nnamani refused to take ministerial position even under the PDP, even this government. There are few things he can take in this now at this age. A former Senate president can take a few positions, maybe president, vice president, and he's not in the run for any of this physically, at least visibly. So I would argue, as somebody who is independent, I say, look, if I was going to look at the strategic interest of the Southeast, I would say that position is big enough. And secondly, see, you don't want to push too far for a position that even you may not get, because the Southwest is fighting hard for the secretary. In fact, Commissioner has been earmarked. Oyedele, who is from the CPC wing, is fighting hard. So the chances even of Southeast of staging Southwest at the last minute to take secretary could be that they lose both sides. So, by the way, the national deputy chairman is for the whole South. So if the South is fighting among themselves, it could be that this will slip away and secretary will slip. In politics, there's no perfect justice. It's all about hypostars. So I think at this point, the governor of Imo State, the governor of Ebonyi and Kenema, they should all work together. Because the critical question going forward in APC convention would be, there's a win-win, lose-lose going on here. Even Titans like Tinubu are not getting all the way. The president is not getting all the way. So the whole idea of fighting for everything, fighting the money, fight this person, is going to damage the prospect of the governors in Southeast. Okay,
and I'll come back to you, Dr. Mefor. If you look at the seats zone to the APC Southeast caucus, you will see that they are to have some very key positions. And those key positions that we're talking about are Deputy National Chairman South, we've talked about our National Vice Chairman Southeast, National Treasurer, National Welfare Secretary, Deputy National Organizing Secretary. Aren't these positions enough to go around for the governors to play with so that Nnamani can enjoy this other one?
I think in the spirit of equity and fairness, the positions zoned to the Southeast, they should be sufficient. They're enough. They are visible enough, strategic enough, and you just name them. So I think that what is playing out here is not really anything else except the interests of some cliques that are looking at a different dimension altogether. The profile of a Senator Ken Nnamani, former Senate President, now imagine Deputy National Chairman of the ruling APC could eclipse all of them. This is what is at play here. And again, it goes back to that same, selfish, greedy interests of some of these prime movers of this position, those who are angling for the office of the National Secretary. Of course, the only reason why they are pushing for the Secretary is because they know that a Senator Ken Nnamani cannot go for the Secretary.
Yeah, I mean,
he cannot be at his age.
It's already too late.
Very good. And again, like Professor Sam said, you see, the office of the Deputy National Chairman is not for the Southeast alone. So if the Southeast says they don't want the office, it is not really their own prerogative, because they are not to produce the Deputy National Chairman all by themselves. The position will be up for votes, right? If they don't vote for Ken Nnamani and the rest of the zones vote for him, what happens? He wins. But he wins without their support. So I think they need to regain perspective here. They need to really, think about the interest of the Southeast. Because, the weeks ahead, loaded, negotiations, horse trading, you need 1 week capacity. And Ken Nnamani, for God's sake, even an enemy would see that he's about the best export of the Southeast to the rest of Nigeria and to the rest of the world. So why should we not be glad and happy that a man like that is still capable, willing to stand in the gap for the zone? That is what it should be.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to distribution of very key offices. If the APC wins and comes back to power,
he will be on the table where critical decisions,
especially who to become minister, who to become.
Let me tell you, there is this parochial politics that plays out in the Southeast that baffles me sometimes. Do you remember the case of Dr. Okwesili Ezenwodo, of a one-time national chairman of the PDP? He was kicked out of office by a suit filed by a fellow Enugu man, one Vitalis Abba, who was the Enugu state the chairman of the PDP. He was removed as national chairman of the PDP based on the suit filed by his own brother. And who took over the position in his place? Bamanga Toko. Bamanga Toko concluded that presidential election and sat on the table with President Goodluck Jonathan to share offices, without any serious Southeast man being there on the table. This is the same thing they are pushing for again, a repeat of history. This should not be allowed to be. You know why I say so? The ordinary Ndibo, southeast of extraction particularly, they want Namani to be there to represent them. We don't even know who they are pushing for the office of the National Secretary. Should that come? No, I saw one name.
From what has been done by the party, it's already too late.
It's already too late. But then they let them regain perspective and come back and work together with the man.
Okay.
Because he is already preferred by the APC Nigeria. Southeast should not stop him.
Okay, let's talk about the acceptability of the APC in the southeast. From this struggle now, it looks like the leaders of that zone have realized that look, APC is a factor, and APC needs to key into the mainstream politics. But from your own perspective, I want you to tell us what's the level of acceptability of that party as we head to the 2023 general election. Is this a way to actually tell us that the leaders, the governors, are already foreseeing that APC may be a major force in the southeast? That's why they also want to plant lots of people here.
I think it's interesting. If you look at APC in the southeast and PDP, for example, if you look at the last election, I've argued and I've shown the data that APC did better than APC did in the southwest in terms of net gain. What I mean that the APC in 2015, APC did very well in the southwest. In 2016, APC lost gain. So if you look at what they got, they lost. Some states were, in fact, they struggled to get Osun and some of those places. Okay. In 2015, APC did very badly in the southeast. In 2019 election, they improved because of the effect some of these people who crossed over. Okay. So APC, if you look at some states like, let's say for example, if you look, take a state like Ebonyi, take a state like Anambra, Imo, you see that APC has many big hitters. In fact, PDP is the party of the people. That's on the ground in the southeast. But in terms of big top guys, top guns, APC has recruited many of them. Anambra, for example, the Ubas are there now, still Odua them. You know that. So look at the way. If you go to Imo, Ararume, these were former PDP people. So it's possible if they get their act together, they can put Southeast into play. Right now, by virtue of votes and momentum, Southeast is entrenched in PDP. But because of these elite moves, chances grow that the Southeast can improve even what they did in 2016 was an improvement. And so, but what will undercut them is if, I don't know, they don't show the gains. So if, for example, they lose the national chairman position, because of the governors, two governors, so to say, fighting Ken Namani. And then at the time to negotiate for positions, whether it's governor and vice president, assuming the APC seem to be climbing towards the west. So the idea, the south, sorry. So the idea would be if they get a strong man in that room, and then they negotiate and get a presidential ticket, for example, or worst case, a vice presidential ticket, it will strengthen, it will help that momentum that APC can actually rival or even outflank PDP in the southeast. But if they don't bring a strong gain, come home in this convention with something significant. And significant, if you bring a low-level person to a big office, I mean, politics is not about office, it's about who occupies it. Yeah. They will leave the national deputy chairman and take the vice chairman to a meeting. Yeah.
They keep saying that when they hear Ken Namani being referred to as the leader of the APC in the southeast, it looks like those governors don't know what they are doing. I mean, it should be a governor being referred to as the leader of the APC in the southeast.
Unfortunately, sometimes, see, that's the point about leadership. When Anene was being called the leader in PDP, he wasn't a governor. He was the biggest position he had was Minister of Works, okay? Yeah. But he's called the leader until he died. You see,
the fixer.
Fixer and leader. He was called national leader. So the point is, Tinubu is a leader. He's not a governor. Is that not correct? But only a fool discounting that, even if he doesn't say I'm the national leader, but he's one of the paramount. If he was a traditional ruler, he's a paramount leader, a prime minister, okay, in APC. Why? Profile. You see, so, and there's big things to share in the party. The governor, Umahe, I hope Zadoma, is growing strong in the party. So he doesn't need to be faced by a Kenaman, who interestingly is not too, partisan in the sense of looking for anything. He's not really contending on the ground with people. He's actually seeing the bigger picture, which is how do we get Southeast up there? And so he could actually, and he has been working interestingly. He has been working very well with Hope Zadoma, very well with, but now, when the whistle for delegates and convention typical, I mean, governors are thinking about, oh, this is a big person. Can I force him to play the second fiddle or carry my errands. That's the problem. But not that he is going to work against them, but the sense that they prefer...
Yes, that they can't control him.
Absolutely, totally.
All right, very quickly, what do you make of the APC National Convention preparation? Just in less than 30 seconds.
Yes,
I think that they're on the right track.
I think they are on the right track, and I think the president has started doing what I expected him to have done a long time ago. You know, bringing all the sides together. And that's a hallmark of leadership, bringing a sides together. The president is trying to prevent an implosion in the ruling party, bringing sides together and getting them to work together as one big family. I think they will have a good convention. Okay, the outing is likely to be a good one.
Okay, and you?
I think they are going to smuggle some degree of order from disorder, from the jaw of disorder. It was a disorderly.
I mean, the unity list that we're hearing, consensus, candidates,
again,
and all of that.
Like typical of Nigerian political parties, they just manage to get by. They will get by. They will get it right. They will get a convention done. There will be recriminations. But the Monday after the show, whether there will be those who are so disregarded that they will get away, we won't know. So watch for about 2 weeks after the convention. Okay,
very interesting indeed. Dr. Sam Amadi is an associate professor of law and ARISE News Analyst, and Dr. Law Mefor is a fellow of the Abuja School of Politics, Social and Political Thought.
Thank you.
We must thank you for being on the show, actually, with us, to give us insight on all of this. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of the ARISE interview. Do join us again tomorrow. For me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Sam Nasamu.